Hello and welcome to BFSI.com by the Economic Times. My name is Amol Dete and I'm in conversation with Nilesh Shah, the MD and CFO of Kotak Mahindra Asset Management Company. Nilesh ji, good to have you.
It's my pleasure.
So to begin with, I had gone through your report many times, which you predicted for 2025, or that report was specifically about the outlook of 2025. Even today, I find it relevant after almost half the H1 is over. But the major change that we have seen in the economy is geopolitical tensions have reached to a different level. The war has grappled us, where there are various developments. But after all this background, what is the current state of the economy that you see? I'm talking about specifically India. Is the worst is over, or we are still going to face a lot of worst? What is the implication and the impact that you see translating into the economy?
So, if we look at Indian economy, it's on its way to becoming the third largest economy. Between 2014 to 24, we jumped from 10th largest to 4th largest. It's jump of about 6 spots in just a little over a decade. This has never ever happened in our history.
Yes.
And barring China, I doubt if any other country would have achieved it. Undoubtedly, we must have done something in last decade to achieve it. And what could that be? I think one, the talent of India is now staying back in India. In the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, moment you got a degree, your aim was to go abroad. Now you are becoming entrepreneur in India.
Yes.
Talent and entrepreneurs make all the growth. The second, your parents were your initial capital provider. There are companies like Mother Son. The name is Mother and Son because probably parents provided capital.
Yes.
That was the case everywhere. Now we have a venture capital system, private equity system, angel investors who are providing capital to entrepreneur. So even a small town boy or a girl having no access to capital can dream of raising money if they have business idea. And finally, talent and capital requires infrastructure.
Yes.
Now we are sitting in BKC and traffic jam here is legendary. Despite that, I will make a statement that our infrastructure has improved significantly in last decade. This Triveni Sangam of talent, capital and infrastructure is creating growth. Undoubtedly, this growth could become even higher and more sustainable if we take certain reforms. But that does not deny that we have achieved a lot in last decade.
Right. I mean, we know many things, but the way you put it and describe, is quite meaningful and relevant and sounds melodious, in fact. Thanks for this conversation. Begin with now, obviously you portrayed a great picture about Triveni Sangam. But when we look at the current situation, which started actually with the tariff wars, in fact, you had predicted there could be a tariff war and whether India should get benefit out of China. My question to you is now, fortunately, the inflation is quite under control, but the major challenges are obviously tariff, the war, and everything. So in this situation, where are we heading? Do you see major changes in the economy, or we'll just have, go through the same way that we went through in last 6 months?
So we are a democracy where we have to build consensus to move forward. For example, we organized Mahakumbh. More than 65 crore people came to one small place. And it was organized with utmost efficiency. No country other than China can even think of having 65 crore people at one location. And even China can't do it because they will never take that risk of so many people coming together. So we are the only country in the world which could have imagined this thing and executed this thing. A lot of work would have gone in that seamless execution. can that kind of focus and dedication be put into the economy? For example, land acquisition is a challenge,
Yes.
but we are unable to sort it. We have found various via media where government aggregates and gives and so on and so forth. But clearly, we could still simplify it further. Labor reforms, they are stuck.
Yes.
A lot of people are in unorganized sector, and it makes sense to relax labor laws, which will improve employment opportunities in the country.
Yes.
But still, we have limitation. The most important thing is ease of doing business. Earlier, our entrepreneurs were constrained by license permit Raj. In the 90s, we removed that. Today, our entrepreneurs are constrained by Inspector Raj.
Yes.
We have done a lot to relax our rules, regulations, compliance burden, but we have a long distance to cover. So, the kind of focus we brought in organizing Mahakumbh, we need to put in ensuring that our economy grows at a faster pace than what it is today. We should not be satisfied with world's fastest growing major economy. We should aim to be not only the fastest growing economy, but also which delivers up to our potential, which I believe is in double digit, not high single digit growth.
Okay, okay. Interesting thought, sir. One more question specifically on the background of war is, do you see an impact on the economic sentiments going ahead? Obviously, the market has not even considered any impact, but again, anything can happen, going ahead. Your report also said that if it's a prolonged conflict, then perhaps we will see a difference. Otherwise, perhaps things will not, go haywire. But as this is going to be a continuous dialogue, if not a war, right? So do you see at least some impact on the economy in terms of the sentiments, because market, finance and everything, all the business is driven by sentiments?
So I just hope and pray we recognize that we were able to invest in military because we grew. A poor country could never have invested into this kind of military equipments. And as our economic stature grows, so will our military stature. And hence, there is a need to urgently focus on taking our already highest GDP growth in the world to even higher, so that we can cover the distance in smaller parts. Now, one thing which gives you edge for growth is your research and development technology.
Right.
Most of the technology in the world gets accelerated during wartime. Now, we had a conflict, but that probably puts focus on creating that technology and edge. I think in talent, our talent is visible with what happened in armaments. But can we have the ecosystem so that this talent can create cutting edge technology, which itself will add a couple of percentage point to GDP growth?
But no sentimental impact, if I want to ask specifically.
If at all, it should be positive. People respect capabilities, people respect, when you stand, when you behaved in a matured manner. And despite provocation from Pakistan, we dealt with them in a very, very matured manner.
Right.
How the difference between a democratic country and an autocratic country, difference between a responsible nation and a rogue nation was for everyone to see. Now, some media recognizes it, some doesn't, but that's for their vested interest. And in today's world of social media, people know who is speaking truth and who is lying. So if at all, my feeling is that India's valuation will get re-rated with this very, very matured behavior.
So let me, take one or two more questions specifically on the India's economy and trying to understand your perspective, because as they say, India within India, and there are different demographics, different continents. So sometimes you are unable to decode. So, and you can take, a great time and explain in details the current situation. When you look at the macros, fabulous. The GST has crossed 200,000 crore, which nobody could have expected. And every other indicator, if you look at the high frequency indicator, is in the positive lines. But if you look at maybe 2-3 other aspects, for example, FDI, the private capex, slightly we have seen some update, but broadly private capex, FDI, or the capacity utilizations of the companies, we are still seeing some downfall. What is this dilemma? How do you see this, the contrast between these two aspects?
So India is such a large country that whatever one says about India, opposite is also true. In BKC on the right hand side, we have a venue where world's most expensive wedding was organized. And on the left hand side, we have world's largest slum. Both coexist. If you are very bearish on India, we'll take you to Geo saying that, look here, the world's most expensive wedding got organized.
Yes.
You will become bullish. If you are extremely bullish on India, we'll take you to Dharavi saying that, dekh bhai, this also exists. It gives you the balancing. Now, undoubtedly, there are few engines in India which are firing, but there are few which are not. One is private capex. Today, private capex or private entrepreneurs are worried about variety of things.
Right.
It could be as simple as succession. The father was willing to work hard, but the son is not willing to work hard. He is happy making money in financial market. Second, there is also technological evolution. The person who launched first lab-grown diamond factory is now regretting it because the cost has come down so dramatically. The third is ease of doing business. It's not easy to be an entrepreneur. Fourth is the market volatility. We have $100 billion plus trade deficit with China. And they have Sam Dam done the bid in increasing their exports.
Yes.
So a lot of things are coming together which is restricting private capex to the extent we require. Now, if we improve ease of doing business and if we can give our entrepreneurs cutting edge on technology, I'm sure this investment will come from back foot to the front foot. The second challenge for India is this huge, inequality. A part of India is like France, rich. A part of India is like middle income country like Indonesia, not rich but not poor either. But more than 70% of India is still at sub-Saharan Africa level.
Absolutely.
Now those are the people for whom roti kapda makan is also important. Which is why we have to provide free fruit to 80 crore Indians. How do I move people from sub-Saharan Africa level to middle income? And how do I move people from middle income to rich nation? That's the journey of Viksit Bharat. And most important thing for us is to encourage market forces, to create that ecosystem where talent, capital and infrastructure creates the growth.
Okay. I just kept listening to you. So when we spoke when you give an example of the African region and 70% people, we have to give them roti kapada makan. I think one of the interesting data point that we had seen recently was some 12 crore people came out of poverty. That was one of the stronger data point. But what is your view specifically on the consumption story of India, which everyone is trying to decode? And as we see that, okay, the consumption has picked up in urban, we see a downfall in rural, and we see, okay, some part of rural has picked up, but we see a downfall in some part of India. So I buy your thought that obviously we have France, we have South Africa, we have America, and we have Germany also perhaps. But how do you decode this consumption story?
So, one, there is a change in the consumption pattern. My parents' generation would have never thought of buying a mobile phone.
Yes.
When I started buying mobile phones, the idea was which is the cheapest model available. But my daughter's generation wants iPhone with every model change.
Yes.
That's the change in the consumption pattern. For our generation, roti kapda makan was critical. For the next generation, it is mobile phone and travel and tourism and so on and so forth. So to a great extent, we have not been able to capture this change in the consumption pattern within Indian market.
Right.
More than million Indian students study abroad.
Yes.
What was the case 20 years back?
Right.
That money is spent abroad, not in India. A lot of people go for travel offshore. On an average, 20-30 million Indians are traveling abroad. That money is being spent offshore.
Right.
The third is like when you buy mobile phone or when you run $100 billion trade deficit with China, you are creating jobs there, not here.
Right.
So there are lots of things which has come together whereby the change in the consumption pattern, not all the benefits are visible in India. Some of that are being spent outside. Now, can consumption get supported over next 24-36 months? We believe yes. In this year, 1 lakh crore tax cut will become effective, and it's going to be effective year after year. There could be potentially petrol diesel price cut as global oil prices have corrected. The EMI burden will come down on borrowers as interest rates have come down by 0.5%. And come 2027, 8th pay commission recommendation will come into play. So between income tax cut, EMI burden coming down, potential petrol diesel price cuts, and 8th pay commission, consumption story, both rural and urban, should get supported in the next 2 to 3 years.
That's a very, very a great analysis, and I echo with you. Sir, let me come to again on the come specifically on the finances now. You gave a great analogy in terms of private capex, but is there anything that bothering India Inc. from going high on expanding themselves? Because at one side we are a growing country, we are marching towards a $3 trillion economy, third largest economy in the world, and so many factors are positive. But India Inc. is still shying away from going, high, despite government is so bullish on, manufacturing. We are not seeing that, from the India Inc. The corporates are not coming. In fact, on the other side, a lot of corporates have deleveraged, which the banks are now cribbing about because they are not getting, good business from the corporates. How do you see that? Do you see there is any way or solution for this?
So again, it's a combination of multiple things. If we see Capex by large groups, Tatas, Birlas, Ambanis, Adanis, Jindals, that's continuing at the same pace. They are not cutting back on spending. In fact, they are increasing spending. The challenge is more at the small and medium enterprises. Now, the world is moving towards efficiency. And in many cases, some of the small and medium enterprises are not able to keep pace with the technological change.
Right.
They need to consolidate to create economies of scale. For example, let's look at our IT industry. Top 5, top 10 industry virtually contributes majority of the IT industry. Now imagine if we had all small and medium enterprises there. Industry would have never reached the current level. So we have to increase productivity, we have to increase efficiency of scale, and we need to create model whereby small and medium enterprises can come together to contribute. One classical example is Amul. Millions of small farmers have come together to create world's largest milk producing entity. Now, can we create a cooperative model even for small and medium enterprises in one form or another?